It's easy to look around and notice everything wrong in your city. In this podcast by Every Neighborhood Partnership, join Grace and Andrew as they invite friends, activists, pastors, leaders, and city workers to discover what's good in the neighborhood. Join us for insightful conversations that will encourage you to see your city and its people in a new way. You're listening to What's Good in the Neighborhood. On this episode, we sit down and chat with my very good friend, Dave Hanson. He's the CEO of Students International, a missions organization that's founded here in the Valley, but has deep roots all over Latin America. Their organization, and you'll hear Dave chat about it, is really on a mission to bridge the gap between short-term mission trips and long-term missions, what it means to be in a place over a long period of time. So during our neighboring series, we wanted to chat with Dave about what it means to stay somewhere for the long haul. And so you're going to hear Dave really explain the model in which they do missions, why we think it's a better way, and then also just his heart and how it's changed him over time to care about people and place, and to hopefully lead through transformation in a healthy way. We can't wait for you to listen.
Welcome to What's Good in the Neighborhood. My name is Andrew File.
I'm Grace Berg.
Grace, how are we doing today?
We are good. We've mentioned this last time in our last episode, but we are recording today.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in the middle. This is 2 of 4, so we're rocking today.
Today's guest, though, is somebody that I've wanted to meet for a long time because I've been a big fan. I've been a big partner. Some may know I used to be a missions director at the Well Community Church in town here in Fresno. And my long journey to my setup to this, Dave, is that as I was 22 when I got hired at the Well. I didn't know anything about anything. Brad called me, "You want to be our missions director?" I had to Google what's a mission. I don't even know if I used Google. That's a long time ago. Sat into the role. I did an exposure trip, our missions trip with the Well right when I started with the organization. I won't name their names, but it was terrible. Very charity based. We went to 9 villages in 4 days or something, played the guitar, did a skit, passed out backpacks and left, at each site. And I just this is not the kind of missions I want to do with this church. Was reading and learning and just talking. And somebody pointed me to Students International and got on their website, talked to some folks. I think we took a youth trip first. And I was like, these are my people. This is the style. We moved it from missions trips to exposure trips. These are long-term partnered organizations that are working and loving neighborhoods just in a different country, right? And it really gives the people an example of when they come back to our city, how you could do that here. So Students International is a fantastic organization. We have Dave on the podcast today. Hi, Dave.
Yeah. Hi, Andrew. Nice to be here with you.
Yeah.
Grace has been a friend of mine for a long time.
I was just going to say, so I met Dave in 2011. I was 18. And I was
Baby Grace,
and I was in a 12-month discipleship program up at Hume Lake. And Dave, Dave came to speak. And we were going to go to the Dominican later that year with Joshua. And so, I think he came to speak first.
I did.
Yeah. And then we got in a conversation because I think we just had a meal together or something. And we were talking about what are my gifts? What are my passions?
That's the thing you do. I realized Grace will I'm going to go in and I want to ask the hard question and be with that person.
I'm not good at small talk, period.
Yes.
I'm just bad at it.
Yeah.
And
that's the best.
And Dave, we got in a conversation about my passions and my gifts. And in that conversation, he was like, "You should move to Guatemala. You should run my art site." And I'm like, 18, oh my gosh. My whole life just flashing before my eyes. That is not the last job offer that Dave has given me and my family.
No.
But Dave,
don't take her.
I know.
Don't do that again, bro.
Well, we almost had Matt and Grace together because I took them on a trip to Guatemala. They were youth pastors in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
They loved the trip.
Yeah.
They came back and said, "We feel called to this," and They filled out applications, went through the process.
I don't think I've
we
heard this
accepted
part.
them.
Yeah.
We were excited. They were excited until Hume Lake came along.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
they made this offer, and Hume Lake's a tough one to turn down.
Yeah.
And so I supported that greatly. So we began to partner at Hume, and I came up to some of your mission nights, remember, and spoke.
Oh, yeah.
To
15
Wildwood.
years of friendship. And Dave has taken Matt and I on some awesome trips.
Yeah.
Too. We've gotten to travel a lot because of Dave. So,
for folks that don't know what Students International is, and just a little bit, so tell us about Students International and tell us, like, how did you find yourself doing this work?
Sure.
Yeah.
So Students International is an organization that began about 30 years ago. And at the time, I was doing high school ministry. I was a teacher, football coach, chaplain at a Christian high school, and also doing mission trips. And the founder came and said, "Hey, Dave, have you thought of doing a mission trip differently?" And I said, "Like what?" And he says, "Well, probably on your mission trip, your short-term trip, you're working with children in some capacity, doing a VBS or something, or you're building maybe a house or helping a church." I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what we do."
Yeah.
But that's 98% of all short-term missions with kids. And he said, "Well, what if on a short-term trip, you could actually have some of your students who might end up wanting to work in medicine someday, work alongside our doctor and nurses in a medical clinic? And what if others might be entrepreneurial and they could work alongside a person in microfinance, making loans to women doing entrepreneurial projects?" And then he went through about 5 sites of physical therapy and social work and sports and agriculture. And I went, my question was, how in the world do you do that on a short-term trip? And he said, "Well, the vision I have is that in every one of those ministry sites, there'll be a full-time staff living there, doing that 12 months a year-round. And then a short-term team would come along and just be a part of what they're doing for a week or two and be envisioned as to what God could do through them for the rest of their life." And I went, "Well, that sounds good. I'll try it." And I took a team, and it was just as he said. It was life-changing for us. And then 10 years later, after that founder, I went on to be with the Lord. The board asked me if I would lead the mission. And I had been doing a lot of different things in my life. I like variety. I'd been on Young Life staff, been a teacher, been an entrepreneur in business. But I said, if it works, I could give it 4 to 6 years.
Yeah, give it a go. For a bit.
And that was 20 years ago.
Yes.
So I'm still at it, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
At Every Neighborhood Partnership, we believe that strong, vibrant communities start with engaged, empowered residents. But to make that happen, we need your help. EMP is on a mission to connect neighbors, create opportunities for local leadership, and transform neighborhoods through education, collaboration, and advocacy. And every dollar you donate goes directly to supporting programs that make a real difference, whether it's providing land use education, elementary literacy mentoring, or healthy spaces to help kids and families grow. When you donate to Every Neighborhood Partnership, you're not just giving money. You're investing in a future where every neighborhood in Fresno has the tools and resources it needs to thrive. Your contribution, big or small, helps ensure that our communities have a seat at the table in the decisions that affect them most. So, if you believe in students excelling, community members that are healthy and whole, and our neighborhoods thriving, we invite you to make a donation today. It's simple. Just visit everyneighborhood.org or tap the link in the show notes to give. Your support helps develop the next generation of leaders like Fresno depends on it. Donate now to Every Neighborhood Partnership.
As you think about those principles, so we're again in our neighboring series, we're having folks on that I think are trying to be good neighbors, and that looks very, very different. As you have picked up this vision, as you've refined the vision and done a lot of work with Students International, what does it mean to be a good neighbor to you? How are you trying to embody that in the way you do ministry overseas, even to your staff that are there local?
Mm-hmm. great question. Well, one of the things that we are doing overseas, I didn't mention, we are in Latin American countries. We're in Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and the Dominican Republic. And we have 100 full-time staff in those 4 countries. But 75 of them are from those countries. And that really speaks to answer the question you just asked is how are we living out and how are we being a good neighbor where we are? Our staff are from those countries. We just have a sprinkling of a few North Americans in there to add to our cross-cultural approach, because the ministry that we're doing is year-round, but the short-term teams come in for just a picture. It's almost like a vision trip for kids to see what can God do through you, and what does God want to do with you in your life as you go back home. So our hope is that people that come with us go back home affected and changed. And to go back to your question, I see the integration of life and ministry being seamless when you live in the neighborhood, when you get to know your neighbors across the street, when you hear about needs, when you respond to needs. Our ministry it's sometimes labeled Christian community development, but all it is just networking. That a lady that goes to, or let's say a child sees the sports going on, they come out and they see what's going on. Through that child, we find out that the mom has some physical needs. So we get her to the doctor, and then find out maybe the husband hasn't had a job for a long time, but he's got an idea of a business and we can make a loan. So we're touching the family at different points through different resources and different ministries that we have. I see that as being very integral to what we're doing, but it's also here in Fresno, right?
I like to tell people that we are the SI of Fresno.
You are,
but
Andrew.
but like literally, like some of the staff, like Callie and then Jesse in Costa Rica. I've got to go to Costa Rica a couple times, and we're doing dance fitness as EMP does as a program. I'm like, that's no different. It's used as an open invite place that creates safety and connection, community that leads to these deep life changing conversations.
For sure,
but it starts with, hey, let's just put on some music and dance.
Right. And athletics, sports is such an incredible door opener because sport is universal. And I think that it has been shown that sport unites people and gives them a sense of belonging. And I think that the sports programs that I'm sure you guys are involved in and others have can be such a great door into a window of ministry.
Yeah. As you've been now around Students International for over 20 years, I'm going to touch on this story because it has stuck with me for so long. But I think we were in Guatemala, but you took us to a water well that had been abandoned. Talk to us a little bit about what happens when people come in with their own idea of like how this should be, or this is what mission should look like, or and why you guys have chosen a different way.
Well, we see often that our desire from North America, being the wealthiest countries in the world, our desire is to go out and to give financially and to help people. But our idea of helping people isn't always their idea of what they need. And so you have an idea that, well, they really need that. So I'm going to give money for that. But if it's not a perceived need by them, then it's many times it's kind of a waste, right? So the well I showed you was a fabulous project by, I think it was Canadians that were Rotarians, but they were very benevolent, good-willed in their desire to help. They came to this very poor village, they dug a well, and they walked away, and kind of, all right, mission accomplished. But the sustainability of that, the paying the power bill, the uniting the group around, let's all pay a little bit and then we can have water. All those things were never addressed. And so the well sat there unused. And the large pila that they use in Guatemala, where they have public wash stations, where they the community will come and wash, it was dry and it was never used. It still hasn't been used to this day.
Yeah.
And it was because of a lack of really, I think, indigenous decision making that was arising out from the community. So that's one of the main benefits we have with our staff is that they are from the communities. They speak the language from their birth. They know the innuendos. They know the they can read people, and they then tell us how the ministry is going, what is effective, what isn't effective, and I think that's really crucial. Just like Andrew, you live in the neighborhood, right? But you weren't probably raised in the neighborhood. It helps to know people from the neighborhood to really understand how is our ministry being perceived, and how are we coming across.
Yeah. I love that story because, well, it's a cautionary tale, right?
Yeah, exactly,
of like, you can have all the good intention in the world, but did you talk to somebody? Do you even asked like what they need or what they're perceived? Like you have your perception, your assumption, and then they have your actual met need.
Right.
And it's a lot of leadership development too, right? Like for that thing to be sustainable, you actually had to train some, like you'd always have wanted to have some local staff involve some locals that know how to fix, that are part of the process. So when there is a break, you don't need experts from outside. You already have the experts in the village, right? Like you already have the community. Sorry,
for sure.
interrupt you.
And when I started, another thing that reminded me, Andrew, is that when I started 20 years ago, we were all pretty much a white male board, older guys, and we're still got some white older males on the board, great guys, but we wanted more diversity. And then in our leadership in the communities, every community has leaders. Every community has leaders. And identifying those leaders and then developing those leaders was a challenge. All of our leaders in all of our different countries were all North American males, right? And today, pleased to say that we have national leaders now leading countries, and we have women that are leaders leading countries. We have 6 different locations. 2 are led by women, and we have 2 national directors, a Guatemalan director and a Dominican director. And on our board, we now have 3 out of 9 board members, 3 are women, and 1 is a national born in Nicaragua. So we're getting a little bit better at that.
Yes.
Not to where I'd still love to see, but
what's the why? Like, why? What has that offered you? What has that offered you personally? What has that offered the organization?
Wow. Yeah, in the very sense of the question we were discussing earlier, getting to know the people in the neighborhood and hearing what their needs are, having leaders that are coming from that is even the next step, the next level of integration, where it's not us with a good idea from North America going down, starting something and funding it and hoping that it's successful, but it's really teaching them how to lead themselves.
What program innovation, just like as an example, as that leadership has circulated and come back, what either program innovation, changes to the ministry have you made because somebody's like, that doesn't work. That I don't love that. You know?
It's been more I would say grassroots or more I forget the word I'm thinking of here, but it hasn't been in a policy or written. It's been more organic. That's the word I was looking for. It's more organic in that we keep reminding our leaders to develop their own leadership teams, and then in those leadership teams invest and train and have a diversity of nationals and North Americans. So it's more of it's been more organic, and instead of programmed in that we don't have quotas or anything like that.
I was just gonna say that means there's no quotas. There's nothing necessarily to measure. It's the long-term work. Right. Which I think is one of the best parts about going on an SI trip is you realize how there's no pressure necessarily to like, we're going to transform this neighborhood in X amount of years.
Right.
So we're going to meet the needs of the people right here, right now.
Right.
And we're going to focus on relationships.
Right.
That's
right.
one of the best parts is, being invited into someone's home you're only there because of the relationship that they've cultivated with with the staff who's been there a long time, that they would trust them enough to, open their home. And then there's no agenda.
Yeah,
You're just
that's right.
hanging out.
That's right.
Yeah. That's like one of the best parts.
Yeah, and you alluded to being in homes. So 2 of our countries, we do exclusively homestays, which is Guatemala and Costa Rica. The other countries, Nicaragua and the 3 in the DR, are all base stays. So we have 4 churches. Some prefer base stay, some prefer homestay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have though, like dedicated those sites to specific neighborhoods or towns.
Yes.
What have you seen? Because SI has chosen to be here long term, we're going to be a presence here. What have you seen changed? Like, for example, like even like in Jarabacoa or something like that in the Dominican.
Oh yeah. Over the longer haul, we have seen an incredible development, what they call community development, in not only in education, but in financial development and in spiritual development. So we're trying to look at the whole holistic in that. And we have seen kids come from, like in one example, one of our ministries in Guatemala is child sponsorship. And we've seen kids come from single parent homes that maybe a mom's got 4 kids and the dad died or the dad abandoned her. And it's very, very, very poor. We've seen those kids that get sponsored go all the way through high school and even into universities, and they are graduating with these great jobs, and they bring back that wealth of knowledge to the community that they started in. And we've seen over the years great growth. Yeah.
That literal generational, like it takes, I think sometimes with these trips, again, the impetus to make a difference, but the real long-term difference is that kid going from, 3rd grader to now having a degree, either choosing to come back or choosing to reinvest in that family. That's a generational difference.
It is a generational difference.
Yeah. But that takes 15 years to see that impact. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It does. But it's the same, again, very similar to the kind of work you've seen here.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, as you think about short-term trips, kind of, this is just something I'm interested in. It's like, what's the future of short-term trips? Like, what's the value? Why are churches still doing it? Where do you hope they go? Like, what do you wish when you're talking to a new church? What do you hope they get? And like, this is the type of partnership we want. Like,
good question. Well, we hope short-term trips are here to stay. We're part of that, but what I'm seeing is more and more churches that are now better educated in things like When Helping Hurts, things like that have helped them be more holistic in their approach to missions. When I sit down and can have a cup of coffee with a new youth pastor, they usually go, "Wow, that is what I was hoping was out there." And there are several organizations I've ran into. It's kind of funny that categorically just do not like short-term trips. But they like us. So I kind of, when I meet with them, I don't use the language mission trips. They are it's more of a vision trip. The 2 universities that do that are Azusa Pacific and Wheaton College. They both have lots of professors that write books on how bad short-term trips are. And luckily, they still work with us. But they see things like microfinance that changes everything, or the fact that we're not trying to give people an experience that they could label as, I did missions, for these 2 weeks, but I got exposed to missions. I saw missions. It was a vision trip, an action trip. They use other words to describe that. So I think that is still is always going to be there. I don't see that going away, Andrew, because I see in Acts 1:8, I see Jesus's words lay out a blueprint for us for missions.
Yep.
And he says, you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you shall be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the remotest parts of the earth. And so Jerusalem is right here in Tower District, right? And as you go out from that, Judea might be Clovis, and Samaria might be, greater, or might be Mexico nearby. But the remotest parts of the earth is still there, and it still should be in our view. Yeah. And that's why it's great that the Well, who sends multiple teams with us every year, has about one person every 2 or 3 years that says, I'd like to go there for a season of life. I'd like to spend 3 to 5 years there. So Michaela's there right now in Costa Rica doing that. And I do think there's a place. Jesus says, go into all the world, make disciples. There is a place to go to the remotest parts of the earth. But most of us are called to live where we are. Yeah. And by sometimes for an immature, a growing high school age junior or senior, it sometimes takes a trip to another country to come back and realize, wow, what does God want to do through me here?
Expanding, you've exploded their mind.
You explore their view of God, explore their view of the world, and now what can I do here? Oh, gosh, I'm in Spanish class, and I got some native speakers that are over there that I don't even know, but maybe I can start to relate to them or the different groups we are in our high schools. And I think that what gets me excited is when I see kids come home and are different at home. And their youth pastors are saying, wow, they got motivated, to build the kingdom here.
Yeah.
Ever wondered what makes your neighborhood unique? Or the history of your city that shapes the places you love? Well, now you can explore the city like never before, right from your own car, using the Voice Map app. Introducing Every Neighborhood Partnership's Drive Tour, a self-guided audio tour that brings your community's history, landmarks, and stories to life. As you drive through local streets, EMP's Drive Tour will guide you with fascinating insights from people, places, and events that have shaped your neighborhood. Whether you're discovering hidden gems, learning about community activism, or simply enjoying a fresh perspective on familiar places, this tour is a great way to connect to your community in a whole new way. So what are you waiting for? Tap into Every Neighborhood Partnership Drive Tour today on VoiceMap and get to know your community like never before. Download the VoiceMap app, search for Every Neighborhood Partnership Tour, and start exploring today. Fresno's story is waiting to be discovered.
The countries that y'all are in are not unreached in the sense that there's deep religion, history of religion in those countries. But you guys obviously meet like very practical needs. And then also the needs that would help empower people to move forward in life. Can you talk to us about that? Like why not just evangelize? Why do like a more holistic approach with missions long term?
Well, there's the passage in James that talks about evangelism, or do you give the warm blanket? Somebody's freezing or somebody's hungry, and it's really hard to hear the gospel without when your own needs aren't being met. And so we see the strategy of community development being just that, but also earning the right to be heard by building relationships to then tell them the most important thing in the world that we have, the secret, that we hold, the mystery within. It naturally comes out as you build the relationships.
Right.
It's more a relational evangelism than a street corner, and street corners are great, and Billy Graham, is great, and the movies, Jesus movies are great, and people do come to the Lord that way. But our calling is more building relationships with people, befriending them as we saw Jesus do, and then earning the right to be heard, and then that kind of growth then also not only builds the spiritual growth in a person, but then the economic or healthcare or education, social work also enables them to be all they were created to be.
Yeah, it changes the fabric
Right.
of that
It
environment.
becomes holistic.
Yeah, that's really good.
As you, what is the strategy? I think for the churches that you're working with, or even the students. Like, walk us through how you, because having now been on a couple, I see there's very intentional teaching moments, curriculum, before, during, and after that you're trying to walk churches or those on the trip through. How are you trying to orient people's perspective through this trip, through the exposure trip, through the short-term trip?
Well, one of the things I found out when I took my first high school group on a youth trip to Mexico. I was a youth pastor, and the pastor said, "You're going to take this trip." And I said, "Well,
Okay.
I've never done anything like that." I said, "Respectfully, could I really have been having great success taking kids to Mammoth skiing and to Lake Tahoe skiing." And he
We need
said,
a lake trip.
he said, "Respectfully, you're going to go to Mexico." And so I went to Mexico, took my wife, took my 4 kids, ages 2, 4, 6, and 8. And I was blown away by that whole experience. I didn't know any Spanish at all, but yet I felt a connection to people. I was living in their home with them. They're very, very poor. I realized that one of my kids actually gave his life to the Lord on that trip, my 6-year-old son. And then the high school kids were so impacted. I'm just going, what is this about? I saw more growth in them in 1 week than in a year's Sunday school, going to Sunday school. And I think part of it, Andrew, is just going out of our comfort zone, realizing that going out of our comfort zone makes us vulnerable. And if we will turn to the Lord and listen to Him and get into His Word and share with one another, great things happen in just that kind of recipe. And we try to continue that same thought of we do have great helps for churches to prepare students before they go and to help process when they get back. But I think the whole package is one that when you go stretch yourself, no matter where you go out of your comfort zone into the Lowell district here in town and spend a day there with a ministry and you'll come away impacted. I think it's taking that step of going out of your safety area and out of your safe zone into another culture. And I remember, when I was in seminary, they said, you got to spend 4 hours in this cross-cultural class with another culture. I went, okay. Can I go to the homeless on the streets of San Francisco, streets of Fresno, and spend the night? They said, you want to do that? I go, yeah, I want to do that. I want to try it. So I did. And I spent the night under a freeway with guys around a bonfire. It's cold in the wintertime. I learned so much that one night. I had a knife pulled on me. I had guys defending me because I didn't look like one of them. I didn't shave for 2 or 3 days, and I wore an old shirt. They knew instantly that I wasn't one of them. But I
love this story.
But I was out there with them, and one guy that defended me sat down with me later and weeping, showing me a picture of his family and all the pouring out. That greatly impacted me. Just one night out under a freeway. And I think that's the kind of thing that happens when you go to another country and you're out of your comfort zone and you really get stretched. So
I love that. I love that term. Like, it's the vulnerability. We don't want to feel awkward or uncomfortable or just like, I'm dumb. I don't know what's happening. I literally, when you're in these experiences, you're like, I feel dumb. I don't know what they're saying. They are trying to communicate. They're frustrated with me. Right. I'm frustrated with myself. It feels very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. But a kid that is from Clovis that goes on a trip like that comes back and realizes, wow, the way I felt in Jarabacoa or in the DR, that's what a kid that just comes in to our school from Southeast Asia or from Somalia feels like. They don't know the language, and they're dumped in, and I can befriend that
Yes,
person.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I
I mean,
would- okay.
I was just going to say, I think like that's part of our own journeys to this work, right? So part of my journey to EMP, I know, Grace, a little bit of your story. It's like we had these experiences that then gave us foundational like knowledge and experience to go, actually, when you're cross-cultural, that's a beautiful gift. Like I actually love and hunger for those experiences now where I'm the odd one out,
Yeah.
and I can just listen and be present and be like welcomed into this space. Like that's one of my favorite things about my work, And so that's actually now a hunger that those early experiences have given me for diversity, diverse places, to be to be a guest in that space is sacred now to me, not like awkward and weird like
Yeah.
it was when I was a high schooler.
Right,
Yes.
right, for sure.
Well, I
for
was
sure.
just going to say that Dave is the blueprint for that for me. Growing up, like you have embodied that so beautifully for so many years. Like when Matt and I were just talking the other night, we're like, who do you want to be when you grow up? Matt's like, Dave Hanson. I want to be Dave. And I think that what you embody is you are that kid from from the valley. And then you have on purpose exposed yourself over and over and over again for 2+ decades, right? And one of my favorite things going on a trip with Dave is that you, even though you're the executive director of this organization, you're just as excited. And you're also just like, who do we get to see today? Like, who are we going to go hang out with? And I love that constant like willingness to be the odd guy out, or like maybe there's something I'm going to find out at this site that I didn't know about yet, but we're going to go see it together.
Yeah.
And so I would love if you could just even personally share, like, how has this work changed you, like over the last 20 years? Like, why are you like, what's different about you today because of
I
Students
think for me,
International?
Grace, I am so humbled when I go travel and meet our staff and get to know them and get to know their families. I try to know all their names and their families' names as best I can, their kids. And over the years, watching them parent and grow their families and the influence they have in their communities, I'm humbled and blown away by their dedication. That's one of the things that really keeps me going is that it's just been so fun for me and humbling for me to be a part of the ministry that has such a great staff.
Yeah.
And so it has been, it has had a great effect upon me, upon my wife, my own 4 kids, my 10 grandkids. As they're going through school, they are going on trips with me. I still try to lead 1 trip a year with high school kids so that I don't lose touch
That's great.
where their lives are, as well as I get to see our ministry through their eyes
Yeah.
and see how it's going. And so I'm leading a team. Last year I went to Guatemala. This year I'm going to Dominican Republic with 30 high school kids.
Lord bless you.
I know. But got some great leaders that are helping me lead. I can actually take a step back and give them the head leader designation and be more just a coach.
Yeah.
But my grandkids, I'm taking 3 of them this summer. Another one's going on a summer staff. She's become fluent in Spanish. She's at Biola, and she's going to be working with us for her 3rd year. So it's been fun to see. It's been rich.
Yeah. Changed generations of your family.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
huge. Yeah.
For folks in town, that are listening, most of our folks live in the Valley here. One, what's the invitation to them to Students International?
Sure.
But what even challenge or invitation would you make to them as neighbors?
Sure. Well, first, for the first part of the question, we are Students International. You can find us online at Stint, www.stint.com. We have great opportunities for people to travel, not just from local churches, but from all around the country if you live out of the area. But my challenge for them is to pray about opportunities that would come their way that would help them to dive into meaningful relationships in their neighborhood. Every neighborhood has needs. Every neighborhood, people, in our culture today, it's really different. Andrew, but we have adopted the philosophy of having kind of our fortresses, of our homes, and we see our neighbor across the street go into their home, and we wave and we say hi, and we go in our home. But when you go to other cultures, it's not that way, and they have big front yards and porches that people come and go all the time. And when you see your neighbor, you invite him over, and you sit down for coffee or tea, and that is the common practice. And we've lost that. We have to fight against that because otherwise we are living in a silo. And the goal would be, I think, to try to do things that reach your neighbors, trying to have a neighborhood 4th of July block party or something at Christmas or something where you begin to get to know them. And then when you do that, you begin to find out they have needs just like you do. And you can help meet those needs and share Christ. Yeah.
I love that because even in your closing example is our immigrant neighbors and our global brothers and sisters have a lot to teach us.
They do.
Right? That's what you just said,
do.
is they have a lot to teach us on how to live life in community.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
My next door neighbor where I live a little bit in the country, but my next door neighbor just down the road a little bit is from Guatemala. And
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. He's from the same area in Guatemala where we have ministry.
Wow.
And I only speak Spanish with him, but he and I are sharing our fruit, our peach tree, our oranges. And then I found out a few years ago, he loves killing chickens and eating them. And we have chickens.
Yeah.
But we don't really want to kill them and eat them. Right? The old hen's not laying anymore. And what do I do with it? But now I know that Gaspar, just down the road, I just give him a call. He rides his bike over and he puts the chicken in it. And he's so excited to get that scrawny chicken, put it in his pillowcase, take it back home. And then he eats chicken enchiladas that night. Yeah. And it's that kind of sharing with one another that I think is important because we do live around immigrants.
Yeah.
Wherever we live.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, totally.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave. Yeah. It's such a gift. And I just really, this was my excuse to see you because I just love seeing you.
It was a great one. I love seeing you, Grace.
I know. Yeah. So good. And Angie got to meet you. Yeah. So it was a huge gift. Thank you. We're really grateful for your time.
Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to find out more about EMP, you can visit us at everyneighborhood.org or follow us at EMP Fresno. Every Neighborhood Partnership and this podcast exists to activate, equip, mobilize, and transform here in Fresno and beyond. If you liked what you've heard, please share and review what's good in the neighborhood wherever you listen. We'll see you next time.